Bonjour à tous, chers abonnés d'OMERTA, ravi de vous retrouver pour cette émission un peu spéciale du Grand Entretien. Nous n'avons pas tous les jours la chance de recevoir des personnalités étrangères, des personnalités en particulier d'exception. Aujourd'hui, je reçois Ahmad Massoud. Bonjour, vous venez d'assister à une conférence à Paris, vous êtes venu à Paris et au passage, vous repartez tout à l'heure pour le Tadjikistan, là où vous vivez. Vous en avez profité pour faire quelques interviews et OMERTA a la chance justement de pouvoir vous poser quelques questions. So I'm going to switch to English. Je vais passer en anglais et ensuite on remettra la traduction. So thank you very much for allowing us to ask you a few questions on your during your trip to Paris. I'm going to go back to the years that you came. You spent a lot of your youth in Iran.
2002, I went to Iran.
Yes.
For studying, and in 2008 I went to the EU.
EU.
For studying.
And you studied in London.
And then I went to London. I studied in London. And 2016 I came back and I went back to Afghanistan.
Yes, so you came back to Afghanistan, and very early at that time you warned about the return to power of the Taliban. You even called out the Doha negotiation between them and the US. And my question is, given what happened after, do you respectively think the American betrayed Afghanistan?
Respectfully, yes.
Yes?
Well, the word betrayal is it's not politically correct, let's say. But unfortunately, they did make a mistake. Let me also clarify one thing. The political mistakes with the negotiation and withdrawal doesn't actually take away the honor and bravery of American soldiers who came and they fought for what they believed, for democracy, freedom, and also the intention they had for actually making Afghanistan a better place. So, respect to those people. They have sacrificed a lot. Put them aside. The decisions politically was horrendous. Throughout the past 20 years, especially the negotiation and also withdrawal.
It was horrendous. It was a way to let you down. Did you feel like this when it happened?
Yes, of course, because we believed not only they left the people of Afghanistan alone, but they elevated our enemy. The first part, it is easy to accept because Americans, there are foreign troops in a foreign country. They came and they would leave. We were very okay with it. But the part which is really hurting and it seems like a betrayal to people of Afghanistan was the elevation of enemy with negotiation and talking to them.
When, after August 15, 2001, when the Taliban came to Kabul and conquered most of the cities, you voted to fight in Panjshir. Why wasn't it possible, like your father did after 1996? What has happened? Why couldn't you set up, Tajik force to fight Taliban over there?
First and foremost, still we are fighting. We are fighting, but in a different circumstances, in a different method. I will explain shortly why our method of fighting is different than my father. First and foremost, my father had an exceptional military talent. He was a military genius, and he had the government at his disposal. He had a big chunk of geography with him, and also there was, to some extent, a regional and international coalition of some countries against the extremism in Taliban. So you see, my father was not alone. he had his experience. He was already prepared before what happened because he was already the defense minister for so many years.
Yes.
So all of those things combined, it resulted in him and his companion from different ethnicity to manage to stay against this wave of Taliban. But this time, few things happened. First, all the constituencies that fought against the Taliban before, they were being DDR'd and DIAC. It was the two program which took the arms of them away from them by Americans way before the collapse. Second, the Americans demoralized the soldiers on the ground with their negotiation with the Taliban and with their talk. Third, there was a fatigue in the West regarding situation in Afghanistan because of their own mistakes. And also there was a feeling in the region that in the absence of NATO, Afghanistan should not once again go into a war. So the resistance failed to find a suitable partner to work with against this international terrorism. Even in that dire situation, we managed not only to survive, but to grow. Right now we are active in 24 provinces of Afghanistan. We started with one, now we are in 24.
But that's underground activism, I imagine.
It's a guerrilla warfare tactic, yes.
When the Taliban took power almost 4 years ago now, last time I visited the country, 2 years ago, the only real opposition that they were fighting against was Daesh. Right now, what kind of actions are you conducting, and do you think there is decent hope to topple them?
Absolutely. First and foremost, in the past 4 years, as I mentioned, we started very small, but we are growing. The latest reports that the Taliban themselves are issuing, do you know which groups they put at the top of the targets and the concerns and the threat? The resistance.
Okay,
It
your
is
guys.
Not the people, resistance of the people. It is not the Daesh, it is not any other group. Do you know how many people of us they captured just solely with the assumption of they work for resistance? More than 15,000 people. You know how many people actually belongs to resistance that they have in their cells? More than 5,000 people. And we have lost about 560 of our countrymen in the fight against the Taliban in the past 4 years. And still we are growing, and still we have the capacity to do them. Is there a hope? Absolutely. But let's be very frank and clear. Our fighting is not for the sake of fighting. My father's resistance and my resistance and our people's resistance, it is for a political purpose. And that political purpose is to get power back to the hand of people. So people decide their future. The moment the Taliban realize this important factor and they accept election as the means of deciding the fate of future, the resistance will be over. So our fight is under either the Taliban reach to this point or for them to face the wrath of people of Afghanistan.
Slowly in the country, the right of women have been obliterated.
Yes.
Apart from regular articles from my colleagues, journalists, some of them are still able to document things in Afghanistan. The international community seems to stay mostly silent.
Yes.
The US and Russia, for instance, are slowly moving towards a recognition of the regime. Why do you think it's going that way, and why do you think things like the actions of the resistance you're talking about are not so well publicized?
Well, I believe it has roots in the international politics, especially the geopolitical game. I believe after America left Afghanistan, they didn't want to deal with it. They were pouring money in it just to contain it. At the same time, the other countries, they wanted to show the world that wherever there is NATO, there is a war. If they leave, there is going to be peace. And that is the reason they were trying to push for this narrative to show or to try to make it as peaceful, as calm as possible. However, in the midst of all these efforts, the action of Taliban speaks louder than anything else. West, East, us, even. As you rightly said, they obliterated, they removed, they destroyed any hope for the right of women. They destroyed any hope for a prospect for a future of Afghanistan that contains a government or have a government that came through a legitimate means like election. They not only didn't cut ties with terrorism, that they are sponsoring terrorism. In the latest American report from the White House, they called Taliban a terrorist groups that sponsor terrorism. So you see a lot of these double-sided stories, these sort of, stories that counter each other. So it's all a part of a geopolitical game. And unfortunately, Taliban do serve a purpose in these geopolitical games. But the geopolitical games, they start somewhere and end somewhere. So therefore, the Taliban are a tool for a temporary purpose. And at the end of it, both America, Russia, West, East, all countries, I'm sure they all understand what Afghanistan needs is a legitimate government to be a legitimate partner for international community.
Now I have a personal question. What do you expect from France and Europe in the past? Your father was successful by coming here in order to raise awareness on his country. Do you think you can follow his path, shed light on your country again, and that France and Europe is going to be instrumental in this again?
I believe so. The thing is, I'm not going to be tired of locked doors or deaf ears. I have a responsibility toward my people. I will do whatever possible. If I'm willing to give my life for my people, bearing the pain of some ears that don't want to listen or some doors that are locked, it is nothing compared to actually willing to give your life for your people. So as a person who feels responsibility to bring awareness to situation to my country, to be the voice of voiceless people of Afghanistan and try to bring back the hope to the land that because of the totality of the Taliban, people in the world are losing hope in this land. It is my responsibility, and I will keep knocking the doors, and I will keep pushing for the narrative that I speak, and I will keep try to be and bring the hope for my people.
And I ask you this question, is it possible for you sometimes to do trips to Panjshir, to go to see your people over there?
Panjshir itself, no. The rest of the country, I keep it a vague answer.
But you have contacts, of course, everywhere.
Absolutely. My people, they're all inside Afghanistan. And the military leadership and the military committee, it's all inside Afghanistan.
Okay. Yes. It was said, that's another topic, that Taliban have various components throughout the countries, that the religious leaders are in Kandahar, the more military people are, well, let's say, between Jalalabad and Kabul. Do you think that, do you see any signs or any hints that this world of Taliban, which was mainly brought because they had to fight a common enemy, which was the occupying force, is moving in, or are they still very united, and is their grip on Afghanistan very firm?
In my opinion, after the 4 years, already even it went to media that some of the Talibans famous personalities, they spoke against the continuation of the current situation. So I believe there are people within the Taliban that some conscience is left in them, that they see the continuation of the current situation as a crime. But either they don't have, very limited of them they spoke actually, but majority of these groups, which are again minority among the Taliban, either they don't have courage or they're waiting for an opportunity in this chaotic world to be able to do something that result in a meaningful change.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, absolutely the possibility of even the Taliban, some members of the Taliban to speak against the continuation of current situation, it is bad. Because in my opinion, because sometimes I put myself in the shoe of a Talib. He has a wife, he has children, he has daughters. I'm sure, doesn't matter how extreme he is, he wants education for his daughters. He wants a dignified and decent life for his kids. So he do, and he must, if he's a human, he must believe that current situation cannot guarantee a good future. So it must and it needs to change. But the current geopolitical games and international politics, it doesn't allow, because there is no meaningful support for an alternative.
Do you think you can count at some points on help from neighboring countries of Afghanistan, like Pakistan or Iran, for instance? Well, Iran is a bit in trouble right now, but what do you think about the
Well, I believe
China?
The totality of the Taliban regime, it is a threat first to Afghan people, second to neighboring in region, and lastly to Europe. I don't believe it will have a lot of impact on the United States. It's too far. But surely the
What do you mean with terrorism?
with terrorism and mass migration and narcotics and so on and so forth. So the totality of the Taliban, it is the first and the direct threat, it is to the neighboring country. Already you are seeing the outpouring of this terrorism into Pakistan. So therefore, it is just a matter of time before the honeymoon of Taliban with their action, it will be over. And that support that you mentioned, surely it will come, maybe soon, maybe late, maybe from neighbors, maybe from outside world. But surely the current actions and behavior of the Taliban cannot continue.
Thank you very much for answering our questions and giving us your focus on what's going on in Afghanistan. We wish you good, safe return, and hope to see you very soon in France.
Thank you.